Special practice.
Time for a sneeze.
Oh,
Another reason why we're not meeting tonight.
so handsome.
I got the sneezes.
Yes, we're not eating in the studio.
Symptomatic tonight. Well,
Mhm. And added to the local flavor of the period with this side cloth. Have this magazine of the royals.
Gesundheit.
what is that
That-
cloth? Is that cloth like an authentic thing?
This I bought as a mask that you wear across your face. When it first came out, but in 2020, I never got to use it since. And I said, hey, wait a minute, that's part of history here. Sneaky devil.
So yeah, it looks like something a highwayman would wear.
Which highwayman?
You know, like any old highwayman.
And if you draw over the folds and then you unfold it, it just does something weird.
Oh, interesting.
But just
Their teeth.
make yourself a mask.
Remember those Mad Magazine fold-out section? It was usually on the back page where, you know, they would have like one picture with a caption, and then you fold it, you know, double fold it to the mark where it says to, and it gives you a completely different picture with a different caption.
I remember those. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, those are
Mad
good old Mad
Magazine.
Magazine.
What? Me worry.
Me worry, cuz.
Me worry? Yeah.
You said it in pigeon too with the little.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, if Leilani is in the house, we don't need to worry. She just happens to be away. So my suggestion is that we call the actors to the stage.
With the first call, ladies and gentlemen, actors to the stage. No, not ladies and gentlemen. Actors to the stage. Actors places 12 minutes.
Or 6 minutes.
Or 6 minutes.
Or 2 minutes.
Whenever she gets there. So,
I
I've
mean,
been going through this weird thing with Doogie, you know, because they're back in town, and they got in touch with me because I had worked, you know, a lot last year. And but this year, the definition of fully vaccinated has changed, and now you need a booster to be considered fully vaccinated. And I don't want to get the booster, so then if you just have the original vaccination with no booster, that's what the data is showing, and lists the union, because the union set of guidelines to keep us safe theoretically.
Richard wants to say something.
I'm sorry, I don't see you, Richard. Go ahead.
What is your source for your information?
Oh, God. Let's start, please.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Go for it.
Scene one. Here we go. King
She's
Henry
not on.
IV.
Oh, she's here. Okay.
So shaken as we are, so wan with care, find we at a time for frighted peace to pant, and breathe short-winded accents of new broils, to be commenced in strands of far remote. No more the thirsty entrance of this soil shall daub her lips with her own children's blood, nor more shall trenching war channel her fields, nor bruise her floweret with the armed hoofs of hostile paces, those opposed eyes, which, like the meteors of a troubled heaven, all of one nature, of one substance bred, did lately meet in the intestine shock, and furious close of civil butchery, shall now in mutual well beseeming ranks march all one way and be more opposed against acquaintance, kindred, and allies. The edge of war, like an ill-sheathed knife, no more shall cut his master. Therefore, friends, as far as to the sepulchre of Christ, whose soldiers now, under whose blessed cross, we are impressed and engaged to fight. Forthwith a power of English shall we levy, those whose arms we were molded in their mother's womb, to chase these pagans in those holy fields, over whose acres walked those blessed feet, which 1400 years ago were nailed for our advantage on the bitter cross. But this our purpose now is 12-month old, and bootless till 'tis to tell you we will go. And therefore we meet not now. Then let me hear of you, my gentle cousin Westmoreland, what yesternight our council did decree in forwarding the dear expedients.
My liege, this haste was in question, and many limit of the charge set down but just yesternight. And when all athwart there came a post from Wales, loaden with heavy news, whose worst was that the noble Mortimer, leading the men of Herefordshire to fight against the irregular and wild Glendower, and was by the rude hands of the Welshmen taken, and 1,000 of his people butchered. Oh, such beastly, shameless transformation by these Welsh women been done as may not be spoken of without much shame retold or spoken of.
It seems then that the tidings of this broil break off our business for the Holy Land.
This match with other did, my gracious lord, far more uneven and unwelcome news came from the north, and thus it did import. Holy rude day, the gallant Hotspur there, young Harry Percy, and brave Archibald, that ever valiant approved Scot, at Holmdon met, and where they did spend a sad and lonely, bloody hour, as by the discharge of their artillery and shape of it likelihood, the news was told. For he that brought them in the very best and pride of this contention did take horse and run, and uncertain of the issue anyway.
Here is a true industrious friend, Sir Walter Blunt, new lighted from his horse, stained with the variation of each soil betwixt the Holmdon and the seat of ours, and he hath brought us smooth and welcome news. The Earl of Douglas is discomforted. 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights, balked in their own blood did Sir Walter see on Holmdon's plains. Prisoners Hotspur took Mordic, the Earl of Fife, and eldest son, to beaten Douglas, and the Earl of Athole, of Murray, Angus, and Methynth. And is not this an honorable spoil, a gallant prize? Ha, cousin, is it not?
In faith, it is a conquest for a prince to boast of.
Yea, thou makest me sad, it makes me sin. in envy that my Lord Northumberland should be the father to so blessed a son who is the theme of honor's tongue, amongst a grove the very straightest plant, who is sweet fortune's minions and her pride, whilst I, by looking on the praise of him, see riot and dishonor stain the brow of my young Henry. Oh, that it could be proved that some night-tripping fairy had exchanged in cradle clothes our children where they lay, and called mine Percy, his Plantagenet. Then would I have his Harry, and he mine. But let him from my thoughts. What thinks you, coz, of this young Percy's pride? The prisoners which he is the adventure hath surprised, to his own use he keeps, and sends me word I shall have none but Mordred, Earl of Fife.
Oh, this is his uncle's teaching. Oh, this is Worcester, malevolent to you in all aspects, and which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity.
But I have sent for him to answer this, and for this cause a while we must neglect our holy purpose to Jerusalem. Cousin, on Wednesday next our council we will hold at Windsor. So inform the lords, but come yourself with speed to us again. For more is to be said and to be done than out of anger can be uttered.
I will, my liege, I will.
Scene 2, London, an apartment of the princes. Enter the Prince of Wales and Falstaff. Now, Hal, what time of day is it, lad?
Thou art so fat-witted with drinking of old sack, and unbuttoning thee after supper, and sleeping upon benches afternoon, that thou hast forgotten to demand that truly which thou wouldest truly know. What a devil hast thou to do with the time of the day, unless hours were cups of sack, and minutes capons, and clocks the tongues of bawds, and dials the signs of leaping houses, and the blessed sun himself a fair hot wench in flame-colored taffeta. I see no reason why thou shouldest be so superfluous to demand the time of day.
Indeed, you come near me now, Hal, for we that take purses go by the moon and the 7 stars, and not by Phoebus. He, that wandering knight so fair, and I prithee, sweet wag, when thou art king, as God save thy grace, majesty I should say, for grace thou wilt have none.
What? None.
No, by my troth, not so much as will serve to prologue to an egg and butter.
Well, how then? Come, roundly.
Hurry, then, sweet wag, when thou art king, let not us that are squires of the night's body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon, and let men say we be men of good government, being governed, as the sea is, by our noble and chaste mistress the moon, under whose countenance we steal.
Thou sayest well, and it holds well too. For the fortune of us that are the moon's men doth ebb and flow like the sea, being governed, as the sea is, by the moon. As for proof now, a purse of gold, most resolutely snatched on Monday night, and most dissolutely spent on Tuesday morning, got with swearing, lay by, and spent with crying, bring in, now, in as low as an ebb as the foot of a ladder, and by in the high a flow as the ridge of a gallows.
By the Lord, thou sayest true, lad, and is not my hostess of the tavern a most sweet wench?
As the honey of Hibala, as my old lad of the castle, and not a buff jerkin, a most sweet robe of durance.
How now, mad wag, what in thy quips and thy quiddities? What a plague have I to do with a buff jerkin?
Why, what a pox have I to do with my hostess of the tavern?
Well, thou hast called her to a reckoning many a time and oft.
Did I ever call for thee to pay thy part?
No, I'll give thee I do. Thou hast paid all there.
Yeah, and elsewhere, so far as my coin would stretch, and where it would not, I have used my credit.
Yea, and so used it, that were it not here apparent that thou art heir apparent, but I prithee, sweet wag, shall there be gallows standing in England when thou art king, and resolution thus fobbed as it is with the rusty curb of old Father Antic the law? Do not thou, when thou art king, hang a thief.
No, thou shalt.
Shall I? Oh, rare! Oh, by the Lord, I'll be a brave judge.
Thou judgest falsely already. I mean, thou shalt have a hanging of the thieves, and so become a rare hangman.
Well, Hal, well, and in some sort it jumps with my humor as well as waiting in the court, I can tell you.
For obtaining of suits?
Yeah, for obtaining of suits, whereof the hangman hath no lean wardrobe. But I am as melancholy as a gib-cat or lugged bear.
Or an old lion, or a lover's lute.
Yea, or the drone of a Lincolnshire bagpipe.
What sayest thou to a hare, or the melancholy of a moor ditch?
Thou hast the most unsavory similes, and art indeed the most comparative, rascaliest, sweet young prince. But, Hal, I prithee, trouble me no more with vanity. I would to God thou and I knew where a commodity of good names were to be bought. An old lord of the council rated me the other day in the street about you, sir, but I marked him not, and yet he talked very wisely. But I regarded him not, and yet he talked wisely, and in the street too.
Thou didst well, for wisdom cries out in the streets, and no man regards it.
Oh, thou hast damnable iteration, and art indeed able to corrupt the saint. Thou hast done much harm upon me, Hal. God forgive thee for it. Before I knew thee, Hal, I knew nothing. And now am I, if a man should speak truly, little better than one of the wicked. I must give over this life, and I will give it over by the Lord. And I do not, I'm a villain. I'll be damned for never a king's son in Christendom.
Where shall we take a purse tomorrow, Jack?
Zones, where thou wilt, lad. I'll make one, and I do not call me villain and baffle me.
I see a good amendment of life in thee, from praying to purse-taking.
Why, how? 'Tis my vocation now. 'Tis no sin for a man to labor in his vocation. Point! Now shall we know if Gad shall have set a match. Oh, if men were to be saved by merit, what hole in hell were hot enough for him? This is the most omnipotent villain that ever cried stand to a true man.
Good morrow, Ned.
Morrow, sweet Hal. What says Monsieur Remorse? What says Sir John Sack of Sugar? Jack, how agrees the devil in thee about thy soul, that thou soldst him on Good Friday last for a cup of Madeira and a cold capon's leg?
Sir John stands to his word. The devil shall have his bargain, for he was never yet a breaker of proverbs. He will give the devil his due.
Then art thou damned for keeping thy word with the devil.
Else he had been damned for cautioning the devil.
By my lads, tomorrow morning, by 4 o'clock early at Gad's Hill, there are pilgrims going to Canterbury with rich offerings, and traders riding to London with fat purses. I have visitors for you all. You have horses for yourselves. Gadshell lies tonight in Rochester. I have bespoke supper tomorrow night in East Cheap. We may do it as secure as sleep. If you will go, I will stuff your purses full of crowns. If you will not, tarry at home and be hanged.
Hear ye, Edward, if I tarry at home and go not, I'll hang you for going.
You will, Chops?
Well, wilt thou make one?
Who, I rob? I, a thief? Not I, by my faith.
There's neither honesty, manhood, nor good fellowship in thee. Nor thou camest not of the blood royal, if thou darest not stand for 10 shillings.
Well then, once in my days, I'll be a madcap.
Why, that's well said.
Well, come what will, I'll tarry at home.
By the Lord, I'll be a traitor then, when thou art king.
I care not.
Sir John, I prithee leave the prince and me alone, and I will lay him down such reasons for this adventure that he shall go.
Well, God give thee the spirit of persuasion, and him the ears of profiting, that what thou speakest may move, and what fears may be believed, that the true prince may, for recreation's sake, prove a false thief, for the poor abuses of the time want countenance. Farewell. You shall find me in Eastcheap.
Farewell, thou latter spring. Farewell, all howling summer.
Now, my good sweet honey lord, ride with us tomorrow. I have a jest to execute that I cannot manage alone. Falstaff, Bardolph, Petro, and Gladshill shall rob these men that we have already waylaid. Yourself and I will not be there. And when they have the booty, if you and I do not rob them, cut this head from my shoulders.
How shall we part with them in setting forth?
Why, we will set forth before or after them, and appoint them a place of meeting, wherein it is at our pleasure to fail, and then will they adventure upon the exploit themselves, which they shall have no sooner achieved, but will set upon them.
Yeah, but 'tis like that they will know us by our horses, by our habits, and by every other appointment to be ourselves.
Tut! Our horses they shall not see. I'll tie them in the wood. Our visitors we will change. After we leave them, and sirrah, I have cases of buckram for the nonce to enmask our noted outward garments.
Yeah, but I doubt they will be too hard for us.
Well, for 2 of them, I know them to be as true bred cowards as ever turned back. And for the 3rd, if he fight longer than he sees reason, I'll forward arms. The virtue of this jest will be the incomprehensible lies that the same fat rogue will tell us when we meet at supper. How thirsty, at least, he fought with. What wards, what blows, what extremities he endureth, and in the reproof of this lies the jest.
Well, I'll go with thee. Provide us all things necessary, and meet me tomorrow night in Eastcheap. There I'll sup. Farewell.
Farewell, my lord.
I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humor of your idleness. Yet herein will I imitate the sun, who doth permit the base contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he please again to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at by breaking through the foul and ugly mists of vapors that did seem to strangle him. If all the year were playing holidays, to sport would be as tedious as to work. But when they seldom come, they wished for come, and nothing pleases but rare accidents. So by this loose behavior I throw off and pay the debt I never promised. By how much better than my word I am, by so much shall I falsely mend's hopes. And like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation, glittering over my fault, shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which shall no foil to set it off. I'll so offend to make offense a skill, redeeming time when men thinks least I will.
Scene 3, London, the palace. Enter the king, Northumberland, Worcester, Hotspur, Sir Walter Blunt with others.
My blood hath been too cold and temperate, unapt to stir these indignities. And you have found me, for accordingly you tread upon my patience. But be sure I will from henceforth rather be myself mighty and to be feared, and my condition, which hath been smooth as oil, soft as a young down, therefore lost that title of respect, which the proud soul ne'er pays but to the proud.
Our house, my sovereign liege, little deserves the scourge of greatness to be used on it. And that same greatness to which our hands have helped to make so portly.
Lord!
Worcester, get thee gone, for I do see danger and disobedience in thine eyes. O sir, your presence is too bold and peremptory, and majesty might never yet endure the moody frontier of a servant brow. You have good leave to leave us. When we need your use of counsel, we shall send for you. You were about to speak?
Yea, my good lord. Those prisoners in your highness's name demanded, which Harry Percy here had at home and found, took, and were, as he says, not with good strength denied. It is to deliver to your majesty, and either envy, therefore, or misprision, is guilty of this fault, and not my son.
My liege, I did deny no prisoners, but I remember when the fight was done, when I was wild with rage and extreme toil, breathless and faint, leaning upon my sword, came there a certain lord, neat and trimly dressed, fresh as a bridegroom, and his chin shows like a subland at harvest home. He was perfumed like a milliner, and twixt his finger and he held a pouncet box, which ever and anon he gave his nose, and took it away again, who therewith angry, when the next came there, took it in snuff, and still he smiled and talked. And as the soldiers bore dead bodies by, he called them untaught knaves, unmannerly, to bring his slovenly, unhandsome corpse betwixt the wind and his nobility. Ah, with many holiday and lady terms, he questioned me, and amongst the rest demanded my prisoners in your majesty's behalf. Well, I then, all smarting with my wounds being cold, to be so pestered with a popinjay, answered my grief and my impatience. I answered neglectingly, I know not what. Well, he should or he should not. For he made me mad to see him shine so brisk and smell so sweet and talk so like a waiting gentlewoman of guns and drums and wounds, God save the mark, and telling me the sovereignest thing on earth was pomacity for an inward bruise, which many a good tall fellow had destroyed so cowardly, and that this villain the saltpeter should be digged out of the bowels of the harmless earth, which many a good tall fellow had destroyed so cowardly. But for these vile guns, he himself would have been a soldier. Oh, this bald, unjointed chat of his, my lord, I answered indirectly, as I said, and I beseech you, let not his report come current for an accusation betwixt my love and your high majesty.
The circumstance considered, good my lord, whate'er Lord Harry Percy then had said to such a person and in such a place at such a time, and with all the rest retold, may reasonably die and never rise to do him wrong in any way impeach what then he said, so he unsay it now.
Why, yet he doth deny his prisoners, but with proviso and exception, that we at our own charge shall ransom straight his brother-in-law, the foolish Mortimer, who on my soul hath wilfully betrayed the lives of those that he did lead to fight against that great magician damned Glendower, whose daughter, as we hear, the Earl of March hath lately married. Shall our coffers then be emptied to redeem a traitor's home? Shall we but treason and indent with fears, and they have lost and forfeited themselves. No, the barren mountain, let him strive, for I shall never hold that man my friend, whose tongue shall ask me for 1 penny's cost to ransom home revolted Mortimer.
Revolted Mortimer? He never did fall off, my sovereign liege, but by the chance of war, to prove that true needs no more but 1 tongue for all these wounds, these mouthed wounds, which valiantly he took, when on the gentle Severn's sedgy bank, in single opposition, hand to hand, he did confound the last part of an hour, the best part of an hour, in changing Hardman with great Glendower. 3 times they breathed, and 3 times did they drink upon agreement of swift Severn's flood, who then affrighted them with their bloody looks, ran fearfully amongst the trembling reeds, and hid his crisp head in the hollow bank, blood-stained with these valiant combatants. Never did hair and rotten policy color her working with such deadly wounds, nor never could the noble Mortimer receive so many, and all willingly. Then let him not be slandered with revolt.
Thou dost belie him, Percy, thou dost belie him. He never did encounter with Glendower, I tell thee. He durst as well have met the devil alone as Owen Glendower for an enemy. Art thou not ashamed? But, sirrah, henceforth let me not hear you speak of Mortimer. Send me your prisoners with the speediest means, or you shall hear in such kind from me as will displease you. My lord Northumberland, we license your departure with your son. Send us your prisoners, or you will hear of it.
And if the devil come and roar with them, I will not send them. I will after straight and will him so, for I will ease my heart, albeit I make a hazard of my head.
Oh, what drunk with color? Say, you pause a while. Here comes your uncle.
Speak of Mortimer? Zounds, I will speak of him, and let my soul want mercy if I do not join with him. Yea, on his part I'll empty all these veins, and shed my dear blood drop by drop in the dust. But I will lift the downtrodden Mortimer as high in the air as this unthankful king, that this ungrate and cankered Bolingbroke.
Oh, brother, the king shall make your nephew mad.
Who struck this heat up after I was gone?
He will, forsooth, have all my prisoners. And when I urge the ransom once again of my wife's brother, and then his cheek looked pale, and on my face he turned the eye of death, trembling even at the name of Mortimer.
I cannot blame him. Was not he proclaimed by Richard that dead is the next of blood?
He was. I heard the proclamation. And then it was that the unhappy king, whose wrong in us pardon, did set forth upon his Irish expedition, and whither he intercepted, did return to be deposed or shortly murdered.
And for whose death we, in the world's wide mouth, live scandalized and foully spoken of.
Serf, I pray you, did King Richard then proclaim my brother Edmund Mortimer heir to the crown?
He did. Myself did hear it.
Nay, then I cannot blame his cousin's king, that wished him on the barren mountains starve. But shall it be that you that set the crown upon the head of this forgetful man, and who is for his sake wear the detested blot of murderous subordination? That shall it be that you a world of curses and undergo, being the agents or base second means, the cords, the ladder, the hangman rather? Oh, pardon me that I descend so low to show the line and the predicament wherein you range among this subtle king. Shall it for shame be spoken in these days, or fill up the chronicles in time to come, that men of your nobility and power did gage them both in unjust behalf, as both of you, God pardon it, have done, to put down Richard, that sweet, lovely rose, and plant this thorn, this canker, Bolingbroke? And shall it be more shame be further spoken, that you are fooled, discarded, and shook off by him whom these shames ye underwent? Nay, no. Let yet time serves wherein you may redeem your banished honors and restore yourselves in the good thoughts of the world again. Revenge the jeering and disdained contempt of this proud king, who studies day and night to answer all the debt he owes to you, even with the bloody payment of your deaths. Therefore, I say,
cousin, peace, say no more. And now I will unclasp a secret book, and to your quick conceiving discontents, I will read you matter deep and dangerous, and full of peril and adventurous spirit, and to o'erwalk a current roaring loud on the unsteadfast footing of a spear.
Well, if he fall in, good night, or sink, or swim. Send danger from the east into the west. So honor cross it from the north to south, and let them grapple. Oh, the blood more stirs to rouse a lion than to start a hare.
Imagination of some great exploit drives him beyond the bounds of patience.
By heaven, methinks it would an easy leap to pluck bright honor from the pale-faced moon, or dive into the bottom of the deep, where fathom line could never touch the ground, and pluck so drowned honor by the locks, so he that doth redeem her thence might wear without conrival all her dignities, but out upon this half-faced fellowship.
He apprehends a world of figures here, but not the form of what he should attend. Good cousin, give me audience a while.
I cry your mercy.
Those same noble Scots, that your prisoners...
I'll keep them all. By God, he shall have a new Scot among them. No, a Scot would save his soul. He shall not. I'll keep them by this hand.
You start away and lend no ear to my purpose. Those prisoners you shall keep.
Nay, I will, and that flat. He said that he would not ransom Mortimer, forbade my tongue to speak of Mortimer. But I will find him when he lies asleep, and in his ear I'll hollow, Mortimer! Nay, I'll have a starling that shall be taught to speak, say nothing but Mortimer, and give it to him, and keep his anger still in motion.
Hear you, cousin, a word.
All subtleties here I solemnly defy, save how to gall and pinch this Bolingbroke, and at the same time sword and buckler Prince of Wales, but that I think his father loves him not, that would be glad to be met with some mischance. I would have him poisoned with a pot of ale.
Farewell, kinsman. I'll talk to you when you are better tempered to attend.
Why, what a wasp-stung and impatient fool art thou to break into this woman's mood, tying thy ear to no tongue but thine own.
Why, look you, I am whipped and scourged with rods, nettled and strung with premiers when I hear of this vile politician, Bolingbroke. In Richard's its time, and what you call the place, plague upon it, is in Gloucestershire. 'Twas where the madcap Duke, his uncle, kept. And his uncle, York, where I first bowed my knee upon this king of smiles, this Bolingbroke, blood, where you and he came back from Ravensburg, and
Berkeley Castle.
You say true. What? What a candy deal of courtesy this fawning greyhound then did offer me. Look where this infant poor fortune comes of age, and gentle Harry Percy, and kind cousin. Oh, the devil take such cousin as, oh God, forgive me. Good uncle, tell your tale. I have done.
Nay, if you have not, to it again. We will stay your leisure.
I have done, in faith.
Then, once more, to your Scottish prisoners, deliver them up without their ransom straight, and make the Douglas's son your only mean for powers in Scotland, which, for divers reasons, which I shall send you written, be assured, will easily be granted. You, my lord, your son in Scotland, being thus employed, shall secretly into the bosom creep of that same noble prelate, well beloved, the Archbishop.
Of York, is it not?
True, who bears hard his brother's death at Bristol, the Lord Scroop. I speak not this in estimation, as what I think might be, but what I know is ruminated, plotted, and set down, and only stays but to behold the face of that occasion that shall bring it on.
I smell it. Oh, yeah. Among my life, I will do it well.
Before the game is afoot, there still let us slip. Oh.
Why, it cannot choose but be a noble plot. And then the power of Scotland and of York to join with Mortimer, huh?
And so they shall.
In faith, it is exceedingly well aimed.
And 'tis no little reason bids us speed, for to save our heads by rising of a head, for bear ourselves as even as we can. The king will always think him in our debt, and we think ourselves unsatisfied, till he hath found a time to pay us home, and see already how he hath begun to make us strangers to his looks of love.
Oh, he does. We'll be revenged on him.
Cousin, farewell. No further go into this than I by letters shall direct your course. When time is ripe, which will be suddenly, I'll steal to Glendower and Lord Mortimer, where you and Douglas and our powers at once, as I will fashion it, shall happily meet, to bear our fortunes in our own strong arms, which now we hold at much uncertainty.
Farewell, your young brother. We shall thrive, I trust it.
Uncle, adieu. Oh, let the hours be short, till fields and blows and groans applaud our sport.
Act 2, Scene 1, Rochester and Inn Yard.
We'll
a
skip
carrier.
this scene and go on to Scene 2, the road to Gadshill.
Act 2, Scene 2, the highway near Gadshill. Enter Prince Henry and Poins.
Shelter, shelter. I have removed Falstaff's horse, and he frets like a gummed velvet.
Stand close.
Poins, Poins, and be hanged. Poins.
Peace, ye fat, kidney-eyed rascal. What a bawling dost thou keep?
Where's Poins? Oh.
He's walking up to the top of the hill. Go seek him.
I'm accursed to rob in that thief's company. The rascal hath removed my horse and tied him I know not where. If I travel but 4 foot by the square further afoot, I shall break my wind. Well, I doubt not but to die a fair death for all this. If I escape hanging for killing that rogue, I am forsworn his company hourly, any time this 22 years. And yet I am bewitched with the rogue's company. If the rascal hath not given me medicines to make me love him, I'll be hanged. It could not be else. I have drunk medicines, points. A plague upon you both. Hard off, Peter. I'll starve ere I'll rob a foot further. And 'twere not as good as deed as drink to turn true man and do leave these rogues. I am the veriest varlet that ever chewed with a tooth. 8 yards of uneven ground is 70 miles afoot with me, and the stony-hearted villains know it well enough. Plague upon it when the thieves cannot be true to one another. Oh, a plague upon you all. Give me my horse, you rogues. Give me my horse and be hanged.
Peace, ye fat guts. Lie down. Lie thine ear close to the ground, and list if thou canst hear the tread of travelers.
Have you any levers to lift me up again, being down? Blood! I'll not bear mine own flesh so far afoot again for all the coin in thy father's exchequer. What a plague mean ye to colt me thus?
Thou liest. Thou art not colted. Thou art uncolted.
I prithee, good Prince Hal, help me to my horse. Good King,
Oh, ye rogue, shall I be your ulster?
Go, hang thyself in thine own heir-apparent garter. If I be ta'en now, peach for this, and I have not ballads made on you all and sung to filthy tunes, let a cup of sack be my poison when a jest is so forward and afoot too. I hate it.
Stand!
So I do, against my will.
Oh, 'tis our setter. I know his voice.
What news? What news? Casey, aye. Oh, again, and your vizards, there's money in the king's coming down the hill. 'Tis going to be the king's exchequer.
You lie, you rogue. 'Tis going to the king's tavern.
There's enough to make us all.
To be hanged.
Sirs, you four shall front them in the narrow lane. Ned Poins and I will walk lower. If they escape from your encounter, then they light on us.
How many are there of them? Some 8 or 10.
Zoons, will they not rob us?
What, a coward, Sir John Paunch?
Indeed, I am not John of Gaunt, your grandfather, but yet no coward, Hal.
Well, we leave that to the proof.
Sirrah, Jack, thy horse stands behind the hedge. When thou needest him, there thou shalt find him. Farewell, and stand fast.
Oh, I cannot strike him if I should be hanged.
Ned, where are our disguises?
Here, hard by. Stand close.
Now, my masters, happy man be his dole, say I. Every man to his business.
Come, neighbor, the boy shall lead our horses down the hill. We'll walk afoot a while and ease our legs.
Boom!
Jesus bless us!
Strike! Down with them! Cut the villains' throats! Ah! Horse and caterpillars! Bacon-fed knaves! They hate us youth! Down with them! Fleece them!
Oh, we are undone, both we and ours forever.
Hang ye, gore-bellied knave! Are ye undone? No, you fat chops! I would your store were here. On, you bacons on! What, the knaves? Young men must live. You are grand jurors, are ye? We'll jure ye faith.
The thieves have bound the true men. And now couldst thou and I rob the thieves and go merrily to London. It would be argument for a week, laughter for a month, and could jest forever.
Stand close. I hear them coming.
Come, my masters, let us share, and then to horse before day. And the prince and Poins be not two errant cowards. There's no equity stirring. There's no more valor in that Poins than a wild duck.
Your money,
Villains!
got with some ease, now merrily to the horse. The thieves were all scattered and possessed with fear. so strongly that they dare not meet each other. Each takes his fellow for an officer. Away, good Ned. Falstaff sweats to death, and lards to lean earth as he walks along. 'Twere not for laughing, I should pity him.
How the rogue roared.
Scene 3, walk with castle, and the officer told us to leave him alone.